always have to come in here and hear Jeremy with the injury report, so I don't know who's going to play. I think Virginia was very simple. We didn't stop their best player. We thought we had to stop him running and force him to throw the ball. And other than the 65-yard run, which is a little facetious, I thought we did a good job throughout the night, but he goes 65 yards to start the second half. And we go up 17-10 with 2 minutes and 6 seconds left to go in the first half. And then you've got to have a stop and take the lead into halftime with them getting the ball to start the second half. And they drive right down the field and score with very little time left, which is where we've got to grow up. We've got to do better. I mean, we've got to learn to answer the other side of the ball. And then we say the next 5 minutes to start the second half is the second most important part of the game, and they take it 65 yards on a run and score on the first drive. So it puts us where we were up 7 with 2 minutes and 6 seconds left to go in the half. We're down 7 right after the half. And the other thing is we didn't make 3 critical fourth downs that we've been making. And all 3 of those put us in positions where we could have won the game. And we had some drops and we had some overthrows. So it kept us from winning against a really good football team. So I'm encouraged that we keep getting better. I'm encouraged that they fight every week and we haven't had a down game. They've been very competitive and they've tried really hard. They fight back when they get down because they've been down a lot throughout the year. All those things are real positive. We've still got to make the plays to win the game at the end. And that's hopefully what we can do here the next 3 weeks. We've got a new season. We've got 3 weeks to try to finish this same thing strong, and that starts on Thursday night with Pitt. Pitt is a typical Pat Narduzzi team. They're going to crowd the line of scrimmage and stop the run, which they're doing as well as anybody in the country. They're going to try to get you in second long, third and long, and rest the passer, which they're doing with sacks as good as anybody in the country. And then they're going to make you beat them one-on-one some outside in the passing game, and that's just who they are. He did that at Michigan State with Mark D'Antonio. They're really good on defense, and it doesn't change. And Michigan State's been the same way. They've been one of the better defensive teams and schemes from Michigan State to Pitt in the country. Offensively, they're going to be balanced, but they're going to throw the ball a lot. And obviously, people have picked on our corners. We've got to play better at corner. We've got to play better on the fade and the back shoulder ball. And that's really, really important to us. So we're going to have to run the ball on the road to win. That's very, very difficult against them. We're going to have to stay balanced and hit some throws because they're really, really good up front. And then we've got to be able to stop the run and force them to throw some fade balls and us make plays for a change, because we haven't done that. And then you've got to win the kicking game, which we've been okay in. We haven't been great at any time in our kicking game. Questions?
What are the challenges to your routine when you play on a Thursday night?
The biggest challenge is to figure out what day it is. Just like today, we're sitting here. This is a Wednesday, and it's on a Monday. Sally gets really mad at me when I'm totally zeroed in. This is Wednesday. Yeah. And when she says, what are you doing today? And I said, well, it's Wednesday. She said, it's not Wednesday. It's Monday. So the biggest thing is we had Tuesday's practice yesterday, which was on a Sunday where they didn't have class, so it was unique and different. Then we have Wednesday's practice today. We'll have Thursday's practice on Tuesday. And then even in your staff meeting today, trying to figure out which day you leave Wednesday, which is Friday normally. So coaches are in such routine that you block out your schedule so much that you really just have to completely change it this week. And then you think about the kids get back at 4 o'clock in the morning, and we need them in class on Friday. So that's a challenge for them. And one of the good things is we practice in the mornings, so class is in the afternoon. So we'll need to get them to get a little bit of sleep and then get up and do their classes. Then they'll have Saturday off, and then we start next week for senior day. And the only difference in this open date before Virginia Tech and Pitt is Sunday you start over with your regular routine. If you've got Saturday game, they come off of a day off Friday and a day off Saturday to you're practicing Tuesday. So it's a real short week. That's why you had to do a lot of Pitt stuff last week.
Mac, this seems like a good matchup for Sam, the way he throws the deep ball versus how they do have those one-on-one opportunities defensively. Well, what is the challenge for the passing game this week?
The challenge is protection. That they really rush the passer well, and they do it by scheme a lot, but they've also got Patrick Jones is 6'5", 260, and he's a great pass rusher. So that's the thing. We can't end up second long, third long. You know, we start the Virginia game with a sack. I've never seen that before. And I told Phil and the guys, come on now. We work a full week to get that first play of the game so we can get started and have a sack. We can't do that. So we've got to stay on schedule. We've got to run the ball some, even though they don't make it easy. Backs are going to have to make some 4-yard runs where we're not going to block everybody. And it's going to be really cold. We're lucky that it's going to be 30 degrees here tomorrow and 16-mile-an-hour winds, so we'll probably practice outside and let them get ready to go to Pitt. So we'll say, welcome to Pittsburgh. Here we are. But it's, I think that's the biggest thing is we've got to stay balanced enough to be able to protect. We've got to stay on the head of the chains, and then we've got to hit some deep balls.
Mac, you guys obviously have to win 2 more games to get bowl eligibility. How much have y'all talked about that over the past week, and as a coaching staff and to the players, and how much emphasis do you put on that, or is this just something that the guys know and it just kind of goes untalked about?
Because this Sunday was a Tuesday, we didn't talk about anything except Pitt. Normally what we've done is we go over, here's the league standings, here's the bowl situations and all of that. But we've got to get another win before we can start talking about having one more to go for a bowl, so we really haven't talked about it very much. They're fully aware that we need to win some more games to get to a bowl game.
Mac, UNC's had good success against Pitt. Does any of that carry over when there's been a coaching change, or do you look back at anything before?
I don't think so. One of the things that really intrigues me is why people have streaks against other people. Schools, not people. Universities have streaks against other universities. I never figured it out. We had trouble beating Kansas State at Texas when I was there. Now they beat them all the time. So I don't know. That one always gets me. But I would think, like we talked about the streak at Georgia Tech being very difficult for us. I'm sure Pat's brought up the streak this week, and what you do if you're them is you get tired of it and you try to change it, and if you're us, you try to keep it going.
How does Sam stack up against some of the other freshman coordinators you had?
Sam's very much like Colt McCoy because of his accuracy. If we give Sam time, he's really an accurate thrower, and he's that way in practice. I used to sit and watch Colt throw for hours, and the ball never hit the ground. And that's what we've got to do. We've got to be more consistent catchers at wide receiver because Sam's going to put it there, and they've just got to catch it. And also because of the injury to Jace and the inexperience of Vincent Amendola, we haven't run Sam very much. And in this offense, you really need to run your quarterback. It's so important that on 3rd and 4th down, 3rd and 3, 3rd and 4, if it's not there, he can run for 3 or 4. And we've been more hesitant to do that with him just because of our lack of depth. So that's hurt us some too, I think. But in his future, I think we'll see him be a much better runner and continue to improve his accuracy.
When you took the job, how much of a priority was it to, I guess when you first were made aware of it, how much of a priority was it to try to sign him to see if he would come to?
No, it was our number one priority. We weren't sure what we had on campus. We knew we had 2 young ones, but we also really liked what we saw in him when we got here. And the coaches that were here talked about him, and we couldn't afford to lose a great quarterback out of Charlotte.
What do you think that you guys got most out of the open week?
Probably some rest. Young guys got a lot of fundamental work. They got a lot of physical work. Older guys got some rest. You know, Javante, for instance, we could really rest him completely and get him fresh. The backs that have been hit so much, we just didn't hit them much during the off week. Came back and had a regular practice here Tuesday, Wednesday, and now Thursday tomorrow. But it's I think that was the biggest thing. In some cases, I think because we haven't had depth, and it's our fault, we haven't developed enough depth, is that we wear down during games. So we're really trying hard now to put more guys in the game. For instance, Ray Vahasek has played more and played well. We're trying to get Jaleel Taylor in the game more so we can get some rest for especially Aaron Crawford. He played 90-something plays or something at Virginia Tech. That's just inexcusable. That's too much for especially a 300-plus pound guy. He wears down. So that was a big thing for us. Get some conditioning in, get some rest in, and keep the young ones working on a lot of fundamentals.
How do you balance that when you've got guys like Crawford and Strobridge who are seniors, but you need them to win now, but you also need to try to build depth behind them for next year? How do you balance that?
Everything we're doing is to try to win now. We promised our seniors at the first of the year that we were going to do everything we could to win every game for you, because this is it for you. We had a couple of freshmen that didn't practice well yesterday. I called them out in front of the team, and I said, you're going to be a senior one day, and you're going to ask the rest of the guys to play for you because you want your senior year to be special. You're going to remember it the rest of your life, and here you are laying down and being lazy and not creating an edge for practice. That's just unexcusable and unfair. So that's what we've told these seniors. Everything the next 3 weeks is for them to try to finish a lot better than they have in the last 2 years. Because they even said the senior class the last 2 years had disappointing years, and senior days next week, I want the stands to be full, and I want it to be a special day for them, and I want that to be really the kickoff and the start of something special in our program moving forward.
Mack, there are 6 teams in the top 20 from the ACC in sacks per game. Pitt's like, I think, second per game, and you guys will end up playing all 6 by the time you play NC State.
We've helped them. We've led to some of those good sacks for them.
Well, I was going to ask if there was a commonality in the way some of those teams, Miami, Virginia Tech, Pitt, rush the passer and attack offensive lines, something that you've seen in particular that make them so successful at it.
There's good athletes, number one, in those positions, and we throw the ball a lot in this league. And I think there's a lot better teams in this league than perceived, because a lot of us are so much alike that so many games are coming down to the end. There's Virginia Tech that loses by 1 point to Notre Dame on the road, and then you come back and they beat Wake Forest by a couple of touchdowns. So Virginia Tech's really doing a good job. Virginia had Notre Dame on the ropes and turned it over a few times at the end of the game. So I do think the league's better than perceived.
Is there anything schematically about the way these teams are attacking quarterbacks and trying to bring them down, or is it just the game plan?
I think that there's a lot of great defensive coordinators in this league. We talked about Bud Foster. I think Jay will be one of those. He's coming right now like he is, and a lot of different schemes, and a lot of people are stopping the run on first down, and they really bring a lot of different stuff on third down, and it's been very, very difficult to stop.
Coach, both Vince Young and Colt McCoy were Heisman runner-ups. Sam's been thrown around this year with the best, with Joe Burrow and Tua. What is, with Sam's career moving forward, what do you think it will take for him to get that caliber of being a Heisman candidate?
Us to win. We're so close to those guys are winning. Joe Burrow's not in there because of just being Joe Burrow. If those guys were 4 and 5, they wouldn't be talking as much about Joe as they are Sam. So Sam's off to a great start. We need to finish strong, and then we need to become a better program, and then the guys will get the individual attention for winning games. I told Vince Young one time, the only stat a quarterback's ever remembered for long term is his record. How many wins? And I think Vince Young was 30-2. And I can't remember how many yards he rushed for. I can't remember how many passes he had. I can remember 30-2.
Do you talk to Vince a lot still?
I do. I'm so excited that Vince is going into the Hall of Fame, and he's having a big dinner, and I'm going to fly out for his dinner. So I text with the guys more than I talk to them because everybody's so busy. But anytime anything comes up, and with his 150 years of college football, he's on all the time. So if I ever turn on a TV and I see him, I take a picture of it right quick and say, thank you. But he's a special guy in my life and Sally's life, and I'm so proud. He went in the Rose Bowl Hall of Fame last year, and he's going into the National Football Hall of Fame this year. And as much as we need to be recruiting, I will be there because I'm not going to miss that.
Garrett Walston was third on the depth chart last year at the tight ends. He's the starter now. I know Carl's had some injury issues, but what has he done to kind of take ownership of that spot and keep it?
Garrett has gotten much stronger. He wasn't a very good blocker last year, so it was hard to put him in a lot. And now he's worked so hard in the weight room. He's gotten his strength, and he runs really well, and he's tall, he's got length, and he's got really good reach and ball catching skills. So he's fast enough to get open. He's got the big body to shield himself from linebackers and safeties, and he's tough and he can catch. But I think the biggest difference is his ability and willingness to block.
Matt, Jay mentioned earlier that he thought the defense's effort at times against UVA wasn't where it needed to be. In your experiences, how much can you coach, if at all, effort into players?
The best way to coach effort is have depth and put them on the bench. And right now we don't have that. Bench is the best motivator. And that's what we got to do. If you can take them out, and they know you can take them out, they're going to play hard because they like to play. But the most powerful thing you've got is when you've got somebody behind them that you can put in, and they know they lose playing time. That's the best motivator. Rest of it, we all talk about speeches and all that stuff, and that bench is good. Hey, come here. Right there. Sit there. Other guy's going to play for a while, then they pout and they get mad, and then they go back out and they don't want to come back out again.
When you first got here and kind of got an idea of what you had on the roster and what you had coming in, did you feel like this was a team that was going to go into the last quarter of the season with a chance to be a bowl team?
Very honestly, I had absolutely no idea what we were going to do. When we beat South Carolina, I was surprised because neither linebacker ever played in the game. Quarterback had never played in the college game. So if you'd asked me the night before the South Carolina game, I couldn't eat or sleep. But the guys just played so hard, and then we were disappointed at both Wake, who's a really good team. We were disappointed at App State, who's a really good team. And then we got back on track. So it's been an up and down ride, but I think in every case, the good thing is these are good young people, and they've really listened and they're trying. And where Jay and I were disappointed sometimes, and when the defense didn't try as hard, sometimes I think they're worn out a little bit too, and they're worn down. They weren't worn out after sitting in the dressing room 20 minutes for that first drive of the second half. But part of a transition is learning how to play hard all the time. Sometimes they think they're playing hard all the time, but they're really not, because they have to see themselves on video before they realize. I said, is that full speed? And you can say, if that's full speed, then you're not good enough to play for us, and that's not good enough to be in the NFL. So, but if that's all you got, then we need to put somebody else in. And usually they understand. I love it. So that's the process that we're going through, and that's why I think we grow each week.
Aside from the linebackers, is there another position group or maybe a player that surprised you in the positive end as well?
Ray Bahasic is picking it up, and he's so quick inside. I think he's got a chance to help us here in the next 3 weeks. Jalil Taylor, like I said, I think they've got a chance. It's interesting, and we're trying to get Javon Terry, Storm Duck, and DeAndre Hollins where they can play a fade. Just where they'll compete, and it's a process. People say you got to play the ball better. Well, you got to learn to see the receiver's eyes go up and his hands and eyes go, and when they go, you got to go. And we're not doing that very well, and Dre's killing himself trying to get them to do that. And I think we've improved in that area. But losing all these defensive backs really changed who we are defensively, because it's put Jay in such a bind. Do you protect your corners with zone, or do you try to stop the run by putting them all in and playing man, or do you disguise so much, and how much can you disguise with a young secondary? So from the Clemson game, where we've gotten a lot of people hurt, we just haven't been as good on defense, consistently good, and that's hurt us some. Offensively, I think the most improved 2 players for me, probably, let's go 3 players, would be Bo Corrales, Garrett Walston, and Marcus McKeithen. We weren't sure any of those 3 would be players for us when we started in the fall, and all 3 of them have had a lot of good snaps for us. What else?
type of tangible thing would you like to see to show that the defense heard your message loud and clear? You and Bateman's message loud and clear about the effort.
Stop the run, force some turnovers. That's how you play defense. Against Virginia, we really didn't do either. And if you don't stop the run, the game's over. And I really thought, and it's why whoever asked the question about what I thought, the bold question, what I thought is that Virginia would have a lot of trouble running the ball, and that Bryce had not thrown the ball consistently well. And I didn't think we would be able to run the ball because Virginia was number 2 in the league at defense at that time, and we'd have trouble protecting because they had a bunch of sacks, and neither was right. We threw it all over the place, and they ran it and threw it all over the place. So I thought it would be one of those 2017 games, and it ended up being whoever had the ball was going to score. So you just never know.
Mack, in the Georgia Tech Pittsburgh game last week, there's a couple of questionable calls that Pat had issues with after the game. I know you've talked about officiating this year. Has officiating gotten worse over the years, or is it a matter that we have more technology and we kind of see things better now? How is that trend taking place?
I think it's number 2. We know everything now because we can replay a play so many times that we know exactly what happened, and these officials are guys who have full-time jobs during the week, and they run out and they do this on the weekend, and the game's so fast now and things are happening so quickly sometimes they can't see it, and that's why I wish that the guy upstairs would make a decision. If it is a critical game-changing play, then let's go upstairs and get it right, and let's just stop the game. People would say, well, we're stopping the game too much now. We want the game to be right, and like I said the other day, the coaches are held accountable, the players are held accountable. To me, it helps the officials if we have that call upstairs. If it's an absolute pass interference call and the guy on the field misses it, call down and say, I got video here, it's pass interference, throw the flag. And that's what I wish we would do. I think that's the only way to get it right. If not, every Sunday, because of human error, we're going to have plays that make a difference in the game that are missed calls. And when your team's like we are, because we're not better than anybody, we're just like everybody, a call or two will make the difference in whether we win or lose a game. And we've seen that. And it just kills you. So we may turn in 5 calls a week that were missed. They're game-changing calls. And they say, yeah, sorry, we missed it. Yeah, well, good, I'll go throw up. I mean, come on, man. But that's what it is. So I'd like to see us have more help for the officials upstairs. I love the officials. You got to give them credit. They don't get paid a whole lot. They work themselves to death. And they fly all over the country, and they work really hard. And they've got impossible jobs. I mean, there's sometimes, as long as I've coached, I see the play and I don't know what happened, and I can look up to the jumbotron and say, hey man, they will not look. I promise you that's that. Right there, he just dropped it, man. He dropped it. Look, they will not look. They won't speak either, by the way, or look. But they have hard jobs.
Should they be full-time, especially with staffs having officials at practices in the spring and every day in August as well?
I don't know with money issues like we have in college sports that we could afford to pay officials full-time. I think that would be the question. You know, I think there should be transmission in the helmets for the quarterbacks and even the linebackers. There is in the NFL, but we don't have it in college football. And you know that the NFL coaches and players are further advanced than we are. So why couldn't Phil Longo talk to Sam during the game to help him? And the reason is it costs too much money for all 130 schools to buy it. So we voted it down. To me, let the ones that can afford it buy it. And it helps our game. Same with linebackers. With Tippos going so fast, you'd love to have your defensive coordinator talking to your linebacker to get them lined up right. And I think that would really help as well.
ESPN put out the results of its survey of Power 5 coaches, just talking about the college football playoff and everything last week. I was just curious if you looked that over, if anything in there was kind of eye-opening to you at all.
But you know, I really didn't. I had to do that for 5 years. And in fact, they would ask me my projection for the playoff next year, the night after the national championship game. And I said, man, I haven't even gotten to sleep yet. Give me a break. I don't even know who the quarterbacks are. I don't know how it'll come out, but their questions now after my 5 years in your seat are, who's number one? Do you give Ohio State the number one spot because they beat Rutgers to death? Or do you give LSU a jump because they beat Alabama? And then the second thing is Clemson's in there for sure. They look good. So then what do you do for number 4? Does that become a one-loss team? And that's when it gets crazy. Because is the one-loss team Alabama? Is the one-loss team Georgia? Is the one-loss team Oklahoma? They had a close win. So that's where it gets crazy, and it would drive me nuts every week in the studio when we start talking about those one-loss teams. And well, they played this. Well, was Oregon good when they beat them? Well, they're not any good now, but they were really good when they beat them. They were ranked 4th, and so that just gets crazy. And I think that's where it's very difficult for the committee. I do agree, and we do it, I think, for window dressing, but I don't think we should have ratings until now, until the first poll comes out, because preseason polls mean absolutely nothing, because none of us have any clue about who's going to be any good. We think we do, but we don't. And then we cuss that poor coach and those kids. They were number 1. No, you voted them number 1. They didn't vote them number 1. They didn't think they were any good. I've been in some of those teams where they said they voted us number 1. Oh my gosh, they hadn't been in practice. What else?
Going back to the missed calls thing, what is the most angry you've ever been with an official?
Oh boy. Lots. I've thrown hats, I've thrown headsets. They're more expensive now, so I probably shouldn't be throwing them. I'll lay them down, I guess, if I get mad, but I can't remember. 31 years as a head coach, there've been a lot of mad. I've been mad at officials every game I've ever coached, I think, at one point or another, so yes.
Coach, how much, Clemson ranked number 5, and they probably think they should be in that top 4. How much do you think that ranking went into their, I guess, motivation to beat NC State so badly? How much do coaches preach that to their players? And
Yeah. I was worried when we started the playoff and the committee that it would push coaches to beat somebody as badly as they could. And I think it does. Right now, everybody's trying to impress the committee, and the difference in the 1 spot and the 2 spot's huge because of where you play. It's huge. It's not big, it's huge. So you get that, quote, home field advantage if you're 1. And the other thing that you look at, we've seen Clemson. I called Clemson losing to Syracuse, and I know they were in the playoff that year. I saw them lose to Pittsburgh, and I might have won the national championship that year. So Clemson normally doesn't play as well early as they do late, and I think you all, media, whoever that is, has been very, very unfair to them, and I think it was because of our game. I think people thought we were bad enough. When that game was close, Clemson must not be any good, and that's very unfair to them because they've played some close games early. But to me, Clemson's right in the middle of that LSU, Ohio State conversation. I don't see how they possibly couldn't be as many games as they've won and as good as they are on both sides of the ball. They've had a lot of young guys. But if you look at Dabo's teams, they get better as the year progresses every year. So everybody better look out because I think they're not peaking, but they're headed, and they got a strong trend up. And as a coach, you don't even have to say it. They read. They know when they say they're 5th. We're 5th. What do you mean we're 5th? We're undefeated, man. We won 31 straight games or whatever it is. That's motivation enough. All you have to do if your Dabo is walk in and say, guess they don't think we're very good. Maybe they're right. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see Saturday night. That's all you have to do. It doesn't take much. What else?
All right.
Thank you all, and
Thank
we will
you.
see you Thursday night. Sure.